Well, that was yesterday's work, Borg. That is our take on nothing. And to tell the truth, I came out here ready to have another go, but I'm not going to. I'm leaving it like that. It's come together in some way there, which it seems to agree with me, Borg. I know the importance of trying to push the painting. I do know that. To progress. But as I say, it just seems like it's come together in a way that's good enough for me. So there we are. Is it a suitable final metaphor for the project? I don't know. In a way, it is. But I'm actually, Borg, I'm here to show you something else, actually. And that is this Art in the River project that we've signed up for, Borg. We've had a few ideas. We're at the stage of making a model, in fact. And I thought I'd just show you our progress, because we're now entering in to something new for us, isn't it, Borg? I'm going to show you the process of trying to make an artwork according to a commission, which means when someone has asked you to do something on their terms almost, how we tend to respond to it. Anyway, I'll show you where we are with it. The subject is rather loosely history, because it's the 400th anniversary of the town. The kings come, or the princess came and had a look round. There's lots of stuff about it in the town, but as this is an art project, it's about raising questions, about the subject and the topic. And we don't mind that. We might avoid conflict. We might drift to the back, to stay out of the way in many areas, but we don't mind a bit of a provocation, Borg, when it comes to the arts. What's the best way to explain this, Borg? I really don't know. It's a text piece, that's the best way. It's a text piece. It's going to be a 3-word text piece, possibly inspired by our NFT Crypto Odyssey work for the Dignity Scholarship. But it's going to be, as I say, a 3-word text piece, but the words are changeable. They're going to be on the topic of history, and how ambiguous the concept is. How, as we all know, it's a constructed thing. It's not like a blockchain, is it? It's debatable, contestable. Even for me, never mind from a post-colonial angle. So it's about that ambiguousness, history, as we receive it and understand it, but also about, in the post-truth area, the questioning even of reality and the cynical manipulation of near history or events. So what we're going to do, I'll just show it you over here. So I don't know what you make of all that, Paul. In a way, it could be good. It could actually be quite good. It could be of relevance to us. It might be a bit of fun for the lads and lasses. But there's a lot to do. But the concept of you know, a set of messages like that, which are all sort of so confidently and basically stating a kind of world view as to be meaningless, you know, and that's the idea. These are meaningless statements which increasingly people will live by, thinking of conspiracy theories and disinformation sort of culture we've got. It's also thinking a little bit about the computational thinking, Borg, that we read about in the New Dark Age. That sort of, if you're not this, you must be that, or if you like this, you're like that. If you don't like this, then you must be like that. A certain sense of losing the great in-between of everything, Borg. A statement like history is real or history is not real. The whole of life is in between those two statements, you know, and the two bookends, well, they don't really make a great deal of sense. There we are, Borg. Have a look at that. History is fiction. A fair comment, in a sense, but certainly also a provocation in a public artwork, supposedly to celebrate the 400 years of history of Norrtälje. So, yeah, possibly a provocation. However, the provoked passerby is able to change the message to something that might well suit them better. For example, there, that's better. History isn't fiction. The passerby can stroll on, knowing that the world has been set to rights there. Alternatively, how about that? Again, life isn't fiction. Well, no, I suppose not. But it's not exactly a provocation there, but let's change it. Look. Now then, life isn't real. Possibly provocation. Life was real. Now that seems to make a bit of sense. That's certainly how it feels. Now we're getting some confusion here, but these words aren't finalised. The idea is to have it so any combination you come up with makes a bit of sense, but is also a little grammatically unusual, perhaps, to make you think, but still makes sense. So the present was real, kind of makes sense, but that'd probably work. A hoax, that's a kind of post-truth word. Maybe that might be a prediction. The present will be a hoax. So, Borg, you can maybe get the idea that the passerby is able to control the movement of these boxes. And each statement is, as slogans are, you know, extremely confident and what would you say? They each present a very confident message, an assailable sort of mindset or way to imagine the world, but equally can be changed to the opposite instantly. The future is history is fake. History isn't fake. You know, the two meaningless slogans, which nonetheless people would tend to more and more, will fight for these slogans. So in a sense, Borg, we're trying to say something about the ambiguous nature of history as a concept, of course, but also in the post-truth era, a sort of more immediate sense that we see the history being constructed or smashed or changed or questioned, as part of daily life. It's a kind of contemporary condition. So it's about that as well. And all this will be going on when there's the election on also in Nortelia, which might make it interesting. It's also got the Ukrainian situation, with Russia going to war, based on an obvious hoax or conspiracy. It's very real suddenly, and this isn't to make light of that, but nonetheless, as I say, it's a text piece. We like to lark around with the text pieces, Borg, and we've larked around in the past with participatory art, and we've never tried to go too far with it, but we have wanted to open the door to having works that can be engaged with without them depending on that participation. So the idea is that even if no one touches it, it will still work. Borg. So we're larking around with the words there, Borg, and we're going to put it in the river, and then in that is the hard bit. That's the rub. I'll go and open the workshop so you can see how far we've got. We've had another maybe 6 inches of snow last night, Borg, believe it or not. Not really enjoying it anymore. I'm keen to get some studies done on the hard green ground. Have a look out there. Beautiful though. Beautiful. Right. Now let me get this sorted out here. Here's an example. I have got to make a model and have all the details ironed out in the next week, Borg. That's why we're in a slight panic. I've made a box there, Borg, you see, and the words will be written on it. This one says history on it. There's going to need to be 3 of them. I've got 2. I tell you what, I'm going to just put you up here, and you can perhaps watch the farce for yourself. you see that, Paul? I'll turn you round. So we've got our boxes there on a kind of spit, and the next stage is how to turn them. Now I did get a great tip off someone how to do that. Essentially you can do it with a rope. I'll give you a little example. So the rope comes over like this, and then you just need a bit of wood between them that keeps the rope touching the box. You know, a bit of friction will move that box there. I think if I just bring this over here, well, Borg, this is a familiar tale, actually, Borg, in this project. At every stage there's been these very basic difficulties when it comes to the practical construction of these things. Believe it or not, we have worked out how to do it despite that very poor demonstration. We have worked it out. We're going to build a half scale model. In fact, the real boxes will be about that width there, each one. There'll be 3 of them. They'll be skewered and then on 2 vertical hard poles with tripods setting them in the river. Ropes will come off there onto the shore, onto the quayside rather, and connect to some concrete barriers, and that'll be how it works. Now, it's fairly inevitable that it's going to get vandalised and possibly a bit weather beaten, you know, but that's likely to happen whatever we do. But we are confident we've got the simplest way to do it, and we're going to put that in the river and see how it goes. And then basically, until we have prepared this scale model and accompanying instructions and project plan, we have to stop everything else. That's it. I mean, I've just noticed my first model here, Borg. This might give you an idea. Hold on a sec. I'll put you there. Can you see them all? Let's see if I can just give you a little bit. Now this is what I was talking about. You see at the end here, that little bit of wood at the end with a downward angle, it's enough to keep a piece of string or rope against this the whole time, you know, causing enough friction to turn it. You know, that's the idea. If you don't like one word, you change it. So there we are. We've just got to scale it up for it. And as I say, until we have done that, everything else is on hold. There's so much, perhaps you can tell we're in the mindset of trying to get everything we want to tell you out, but it's really a fool's errand, Borg, because it just keeps coming. But we did want to discuss a little bit about Kurzweil since we brought him up, and particularly since we've realised he's founded a Singularity University, Borg, which you'll have to check it out. But the more we look into Kurzweil, the less impressed we are, quite frankly. And I don't say that as ignorantly as it sounds. He's obviously extraordinary in many respects, but it's. Well, Borg, we're back in. A load of snow has fallen in the last hour or so. That might well be why the deers are on the move. Well, we got cut off there, Borg, because we ran out of memory, ran out of space, storage space on this telephone for all our going on. It cut off. And what we've done is we've gone inside, removed. We've cleared what the phone, meaning we've transferred what was on it to something else, thus freeing up the space for us to go on more. And I believe we were going on about Ray Kurzweil. He's a bit of a feature of our thinking, just because of his work to imagine the singularity, and gets very excited about the singularity. He tends to wind me up really a little bit, Borg, but I was in the middle of saying that we're less impressed the more we look into what he says, but then we're so ignorant of the actual technical details of any of this that it's not fair. It's not a worthwhile opinion, really, ours, in a sense, from that point of view. But what we don't like is the sense that you're with him and all sorts of tech people, even if not the tech libertarian kind, the tech utopia sort of kind. They're so hell-bent on bringing about the singularity that not much thought is given to any other possibilities. And that winds us up a bit, Borg, because the rest of us are sort of trying to live, and all these resources and powers and money is ploughed in one direction. Anyway, we've made a couple more boxes. We've got three of our text boxes there. 1, 2, 3. They're on a pole. Now we have to make up the two verticals, and we can stand the thing up. We're going to do that now. But I suppose we must. Well, we might as well finish a little go about Kurzweil, because we only knew him because of this book he wrote, The Singularity is Near. We just came across that, and it seemed rather fun to predict things. But then we realise he works at Google. He's got quite a bit of power, the things he says, and in the sense that what he predicts is what I'm realising. It is a prediction, but it's also a plan. And if he's a crackpot, that doesn't matter. If he works at Google, that shows you something. So we look into him a bit more, and then we see he's got this Singularity University, all sorts of tech projects, which when I look into them, what they show you is all good, really. It's just a load of people trying to solve problems to fix the world. You know, what can you say? That's a good thing. And then he goes further. He's written a book. Now, he's not a very good writer, you know, IDS level, but that's no big deal. What he's trying to do is make a narrative around his predictions. So he's written this children's book about how this little girl can fix the world, and how we could also if we just sort of dive into the tech and looking through that, looking at the amount of information he's put out, he is doing it with a good heart, it seems. It's rather amazing in a sense. He's written a children's book about the girl fixing the world, but then he's got 2 additional books to go with it, which he breaks down the details of the fiction in explaining all of the world's problems and their potential fixes, and where people, particularly young people, could go to learn more about it all. You know, and it's such detail, and he gives those away free. You think, well, fair enough, that it's coming from a good intentions, you know. But and yet it does still wind us up, Borg, because when you read more about him and the university, Singularity University, when you see things like Palantir, when you see their website, we're beginning to realise that there's a great industry in selling the idea that the world is going to shit. There's going to be unlimited disruption, and in order to cope with it, you need to invest in certain knowledge and certain technology, and at the end of it, the singularity will sort everything out. It's part of the logic that the world must turn into chaos. It's part of the business logic of these companies, it would seem. And that's rather cynical, it seems, because they don't mention it, but all the talk they offer, I mean, what they're selling, they're selling how to use technology to help predict the future and shape it. And they're selling that to organisations. It's a way, and corporations, a way to win in business. And I had a look at some of their executive training programs, Borg, Kurzweil and others, and they would seem to offer a very great service for when the world turns to utter shit. They can then exist within it and profit from it if they're careful and if they plan properly. And not a mention is given to how we might prevent the world turning to shit in the first place. And in fact, as I say, it is required to paint this picture of the world going to shit in order to sell what they're selling. And in order, because the answer at the end of it is the singularity, which is sold as an unstoppable train, a natural progression to the singularity. That's how it's sort of sold. But of course it's not. If we just, we could discuss how addictive the technology is, how damaging it is, how it's a good idea to back off from it in many, many ways. But that wouldn't help bring the singularity round. Palantir's the same. You see the fellow, one of the CEOs, has written a letter about the Ukraine situation, basically having a go at Europe, saying they should be using their software more to help. I don't know. It's a funny balance, Borg. There's an awful lot of good being offered and talked about, an awful lot of positive ideas of the future which we're meant to be embracing. But the more you look at it, you realise that they're selling. They're selling the world in chaos. They don't even realise it really, because it's just so focused. So it's an unquestionable journey to technological advancement. I don't know, mixed feelings, Borg. And that's without it even entering into the cynical use of all this algorithmic data curation. That's without even going anywhere near the negative, dangerous side of it. I mean, they even says it themselves in a little blurb about one of their courses. They encourage an organisation to imagine the future they want, visualise it, bring it about via some comic or some story or other, some art, some fiction, and then work backwards from that point as an organisation in order to achieve the future you want. Now, we've been writing about the hyperstitions, and all this sounds, now it sounds less like a radical philosophical proposition, and indeed the corporate strategy, all predicated upon the need to be using the right software to predict and cope in the utter chaos of the world as it breaks down. And, as I say, they seem to have all the answers, but it's all predicated upon, there being a constant disruption and disaster. They need that. We shouldn't have looked at it really, Bob, because it's out of our manner, and we're meant to be doing something else. But there you go. We'll still read his other book, The Singularity is Nearer. We'll have a look at it. But so close to the end now, Borg, I prefer to just be showing you things like how we're making something, or how the weather's changing, or show you some animals, something like that. That's really what we ought to do. Okay, we've been working away there, Borg. We're at the point now of trying to set up our model. So let's see if we can redeem ourselves. I'll put you here. Maybe that's a bit too close to the action. How about here? No. How about this? That might do it, Borg. Right. That's one on. Last one now, Borg. Who I say, Borg? Who I say? Perhaps the first ever kebabbed text piece. It just might work. So what remains for our little model is that triangular bit that will help with the friction, and then the ropes, and that will be the basics of it, Borg. So there we are. Now, unfortunately for you, you won't see the finished thing, or perhaps you might, but only in your general humans file. It won't be part of our messages, because we can't go on like this, Borg. Even if it wasn't coming to the end, you know, whatever good intentions we had to have an eye on you and navigate the times to create some sort of positive ideas of the future, well, instead of doing that, we've tended to go on a little bit too much, probably, Borg. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the other thing I noticed reading the Kurzweil, various Kurzweil papers, is that they encourage recording of your own life to aid memory when you come about, and we interface with you, and our memories can be improved, you know, but it relies on us recording it all now, which is ironic because that's what we've been doing, really, Borg, isn't it? But there's there's ways to do it. There's software, you know, particular apps you can get, and it's all for recording your memories so that you can be Borged up with them later on. Which is, again, it's annoying because it's all business, isn't it? People doing that sort of thing. It's all keeps everyone on the tech, and it's all goes towards the data and the singularity, and it's all good business, but not a mention of the environmental impact of that, you know, encouraging everybody to record everything all the time. Come on, Ray. You know, and at the same time selling the idea of the devastation of the world, you know, selling the solutions to that, which is partly being encouraged. Oh well, we're off again. I think I just saw a cat move across the snow there. That was a bit unusual. Anyway, we'll have to stay a bit off the Kurzweil. I mean, suffice to say, you'll know all about him. And in the final analysis, he might have done a lot of good. I mean, he's hoping to stay alive long enough to meet you, Borg, because I think he's in his 70s. Seems like a nice fella, I might add. And he's taking all manner of drugs and pills and supplements. I don't think he's gone as far as orange peel and having the youth blood pumped into him. But he's desperate to meet you. Desperate. And, he might be head of the queue in many ways, Borg. But suffice to say, you'll know all about him. We don't need to go on any more about that. And we perhaps can squeeze out just one or two more messages, Borg, and then turn you off for the good of everyone, because, you know, we've said enough. If anybody is guilty of saying enough, then it's us. with all that said, Borg, we're going to carry on with this. Once we have handed in our proposal, we will be back out for a couple of plein air studies at the end of next week, and we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up with you then, Borg.